Okay, when's it coming out on console?
Yeah.
That's a genuine question.
Yeah, as much as everybody, I just spit a date. I say like, oh, like another year, and then it's not a year, and then I'm a liar, right? So it's, I, I just give it developer estimations, and yeah, like the console prediction to be able to, like, I've always built it with the console in mind from the start, and I've been working with the consoles for like many years as I've been building it, and there's just the general, like, it works on the console, but what works is different. What works to me is not good enough. So
Clearly, yeah. Well, people have a different opinion. Yeah, I think the better question, Matt, honestly, is it's too simple a question. Is what will it take to get it on console? I think is a more interesting question.
Yeah, so a massive part about what is really holding back the console is that the networking just will not happen. Like how
What does that mean?
It cannot. The networking came in very last minute again, and the way that it was kind of thrown together is extremely buggy.
Can you explain what you mean by networking? Are you talking about multiplayer?
Multiplayer, yeah, being able to run on the multiplayer, and we really think it's important to have a solid multiplayer experience when it comes to going on console. It's just every time we've been able to get in a group as a team and play the game, like, we have fun. Like, we have lots of fun, and I see people on the Discord, like, when they play and post. It's the same as, like, on the Discord when people post clips of them doing stuff. Like, they're multiplayer interacting with each other over Discord. They're saying, "Hey, look, my cool thing." But when you're playing with each other, you can literally just be like, "Stop! Like, check the replay. Look at that! I just smashed into you!" And, like, it was just hilarious. Like, it was just hilarious playing online with being able to smash into each other. I mean, at the time, it was like it didn't matter how awesome the collision was or not. It was just that you could do it, and it was just fucking. It was just hilarious that you could just smash into each other in a bowl or something.
Or try and race to get down a rail or something would be fun. Like, try and take somebody out before they get to a rail first. That would be fun.
But then, like I said, like, the multiplayer is not physically based, interactive together. It's like it was designed in a way where you're just seeing a recording of the other player on your side.
Sure.
There's no simulation for everyone in the same server, you could say. So you're just seeing a recording, right? And then when you interact with each other, you kind of like hitting each other like a brick wall because there's no physics between you guys. You're just basically hitting a static collider that is in motion. It doesn't actually have the ability to take interaction itself.
Sure.
So
are you saying that will change for Xbox or for the whole game in general?
We're moving. It's moving straight into it. It's full on Euphoria style, like GTA Red Dead right now for the character motion, and as soon as, like, it's very important. If I can network that, I can network anything.
What does Euphoria mean? Is that some kind of model, like some kind of
Euphoria
animation?
system was like the introduction of like the physics-based character motion that GTA 4 introduced.
Right.
I don't know if Rockstar designed the system, but it might have been a different company.
Okay, so the
But that,
question was, what would it take to get it onto console? And the biggest issue you have, I'm sensing, I'm hearing one thing, but I'm sensing something else. Like you said, the multiplayer, the networking, but obviously, this new physics-based system that you're
yeah.
building is going to be in there
But
too, right?
it's not even just about the multiplayer though, because like to be able to create something that runs that like how we need to do it on the multiplayer, you need to do it from the start. So I'm taking it back. We're revisiting a lot of systems and with multiplayer in mind from the start. Otherwise, we get screwed when it comes to that stuff, and we can't. Like, it's like you'll hear it from other developer like Project Session. They'll just straight up say on their Instagram like it's impossible for us to do multiplayer. I mean, like
Right.
they'll feel it. It's not impossible, which I don't like them saying. It's not impossible, but they understand their scope and realize like, like we probably would have need to do this. We probably would have needed to do this from the start.
Sure.
um, but I'm willing to take that risk. Like I have a lot of drive to fucking give everything I can to be able to do this shit. And
Sure.
it's that. But not only the multiplayer needs to be sorted for the console, then there's the data systems need to be double checked hard.
What does that
I
mean?
like people losing their data is one of the
Okay.
biggest problems, and so I already see it. I can envision why I would not pass certification already, and this is another thing. Like, is that
Can you speak to
like
me about
falling to
that
the if you
process a
yeah
little
like
bit?
if maybe in BMX Streets right now you pause and unpause the game a couple times and you fall through the map because I have a like an LOD system on my physics that is camera based, and I think camera the camera being in the pause menu when you're paused, it's so far away from your original position that it disables all the world colliders next to your character and you just start falling.
Right.
Something I think that's the problem.
I've not
I,
seen, but honestly, not, by the way, not seen a lot of
yeah,
that personally. I've seen other
stuff like
stuff.
that, but falling through the map or even the climbing system. So the climbing right now, like if you get stuck on something or can't, it's just awkward. Like this is very not certifiable. Losing your bike data, not really
Okay.
any of that. They're gonna be on my ass about how to even test what I've given them.
Okay.
uh, so I gotta develop some of stuff around that. Um,
Okay. Okay.
Performance has always been a big issue. I built it with the idea in mind to get it at 4K to 120, and it's ran for the most part. I got it there, but at the final stretch of finishing up the world, I can't. It's stuck at like 100 frames max, so it's gonna be pulled down to 60 FPS max, which is okay. Like, cause who really runs 120 FPS TVs for
Yeah, I
gaming?
mean, for
It's not
console, that's
common,
fine, honestly.
and it's just a big annoyance for trying to run games like that anyway.
Sure.
But it's fine because I learned a lot on keeping it so that I can actually run it. So it runs at 60 and not 30,
Sure. Yeah.
because that's accidentally easy to do.
I'm good jumping around a bit, but I just a little thought about there's this feeling in the community for whatever reason that I mean this is a bigger societal thing. I think like we're owed something by you, as customers, as people. Like, and I'm pretty torn on that if I'm honest. Like, you never put a gun to my head, right, to buy the game. The market was pretty dry, of course, in terms of
No,
BMX
like
games. As Riders Republic, right? But there's
like
nothing out.
some
There
of the
was no
funny
BMX
part.
game. Hmm.
The funny part is, I've given you 6 years of a trailer. You can decide if you wanted it or not. You just go on my Instagram and you can go and do the things that in the game that were shown there for the most part. Like a couple features
Sure.
that never made it, but it was never a promise on the Instagram about that because it was never really a trailer. The Instagram is the history of my development.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Sure.
it's not a promotion for the game in that way.
Yeah.
Where it's just funny because sometimes I get it. So anytime somebody refunds the game, they have to leave a reason, and I
Mm-hmm.
can actually go and look at every one of these comments and reasons
Mm-hmm.
through the Steam. And it's just really funny when it one of the refund reason might be the game is not what it was marketed like or something along those lines, and I'm like, I'm like, we purposely made the trailer with the recording tools in the game
Yeah,
for this reason, so that you can literally make this trailer yourself.
sure.
It's like us, like it's indie sports games. We just do that for our trailers. We use our in-game recording tools, and this is the game.
Sure.
Like we're not. There's no cinematic behind it.
Yeah, it says at the beginning of the trailer, doesn't it, from in-game
Yeah. So I'm like,
footage?
okay, well, this guy's just clicking around a button. He doesn't like it. Like, so I just can't
Yeah.
take some of that stuff to heart. But it's
It's just my point is though, we live in a society where everybody feels they're owed something now. Honestly, in my opinion, everybody feels like, you
yeah,
owe me this, you owe me that. And as I said, there was no gun to my head. I wanted a BMX game. I wasn't. Things like Riders Republic didn't do it for me. I'd much rather have gone back and played BMX Triple X. But it's like
yeah,
those games. It was a dry market, and I was excited for it. But at the same time, so I don't feel like you owe me anything. If I can refund it, I have 2 hours on Steam to play it. If I don't like it, I can refund it. I never did that. But I do at the same time feel like I invested in over $50 in you, in trusting in you, like as a single dev, right? And
yeah. That's right.
and
So
people feel like,
this is. I
uh-huh,
feel like that too. Yeah. So I do, like, they feel like they're owed something, and right now I don't want to say I'm doing this for you guys. I like,
sure,
this is very much a very personal journey when it comes
sure,
to how I'm doing it. But at the end of the day, I need to be able to continue my personal journey. I need to make money. Um,
sure,
so, and that's where the feedback, and it is nice and really fun to share this with other people. But I can't solely say I'm gonna make this because I want to make it for you guys, right?
yeah, I
That
understand that.
that pulls away a bit of my love going into it, and this is where I'm really enjoying uh, taking another step back and redoing a lot of my systems, because I get to go back into my phase of like, oh, this is like really cool how I wanted to do it, and like
Yeah, I would
the
argue that
future's like that.
the game, I have my issues with certain things, but I think that I've made, as you sort of seen from my channel, a lot of content. I've really enjoyed it for the most part. It does what I want and a lot more. If you saw the Anina Butrego Night Queen video I did, it's like
Yeah.
it's unbelievable the stuff you can do. I hate that trike, by the way. I hate it. It's so impossible to ride. But I love that I could put bars on it and a light, change the bars, put a light on the bars, and I used it as a light source, and that like blew my mind. And then I realized I could send that down a pipe, and I could get it to follow me essentially or ride around with it, and it was amazing being able to do that, and I'm very grateful for that. Um, but
Yeah,
then
so, but then imagine how much better that would have been if it had like the online physics like GTA Online does, where you can actually properly interact with your friends to help you get those clips. Like,
That's exactly what I want. I want my mate to be
yeah,
riding in the track behind me, and I'm sure you had that idea. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able made the track customizable. So I love all that stuff. I know from speaking to you that that things are getting looked at, and this I think most people just need to know that you've not
yeah.
abandoned them. That's it. And it's
No,
like
no, it's far from that. It's just
I
there's
can
a
see.
point where I can't just give you a small line of code every day and update.
Yeah,
It's like, you want those manuals to feel better. Let
yeah,
me just rebuild the physics.
yeah. And we'll get into that in another
Get
video
into
because I
stuff.
think that's
That's how it
fascinating.
goes. Like, I need to dive in way deeper than just like adding a few blockers on, like, is your angle a little bit too far to the left, and like shift it back over. This is
Yeah.
not good. Like, you want that, it's that maintainability of and robustness of physics, and it's already coming
Yeah,
through.
you talk about that a lot. The word robust, I've heard you say that a lot in the last few hours of speaking to you.
Yeah.
Can you just talk to that a tiny bit, like why that's important?
It's so important so that you can actually have a game, like in physics in a game, like in simulator aspect as well. Yeah.
Well, okay, what do you mean by robust?
Robust. Okay, so in Super Smash Bros, you have all those items that pop up on the ground, and you can pick them up. Like a gun or a baseball bat.
Mm-hmm.
The gun can shoot, the baseball bat can swing, but you have this throwing that you can, when you have something in your hand, you have a mechanic where you can throw it,
Right,
right? So it shouldn't matter what the fuck is in your hand. You should be able,
right,
if you have something in your hand, you can throw it. Yeah.
right.
So this is what is robust about their system, is that they can all of a sudden add a new weapon or just thing into it, and they just know it's going to be holdable and throwable, and it's going to be able to hit something with physics because it has proper robust physics on the item itself. So you can start,
And it's not going
you
to
know,
clip, and it's not going to
even though
rely on
it's,
animations and all
yeah,
that
and
stuff.
this is how certain games of throughout the years, like Skyrim and stuff, have been modded beyond what they even are as a core,
Right.
right? Because they're just following some robust set of interfaces or physics, like, and changing that.
And so for BMX Streets, are you saying once this new physics system, let's call it 2.0, but it's probably more like 2000.0 for you, like let's call it physics 2.0, once that's implemented, then that means things like, in theory, a mountain bike could be introduced.
Oh yes, yes. This is like I test with different shapes and sizes of vehicles or two-wheeled vehicles throughout this new setup, and just to make sure, like, because it's just a thing with wheels. So if you can, and if it's a thing with two wheels, it shouldn't matter like how big it is. That's the idea.
Sure.
So
Sure.
there's not much physically different, any physics difference between a BMX or a mountain bike or a rocker bike or even a scooter. They're all physically the same. They're a thing
Sure.
with two, like a swivel on the front, like they have a single steering axis
Sure.
for a wheel, and that's about it. You can jump them the same way.
Okay. Why didn't you make the game early access? Did you ever have that conversation?
Yeah, definitely thought about it. It just seemed like it's already been too many years. Like I can't just
What do you
drop
mean?
it with early access. It seemed like the pressure was way too high, and it seemed like
Pressure from
we
who?
already, you just put it on yourself after like having certain social media following, I guess.
Oh
But
yeah, you had
you,
probably over 100,000 people when it released, maybe close to 130 or 40. I get
yeah,
that, but it was a pretty supportive community. I honestly think if I was to put my finger on one thing, and I'm just a guy on the other side of the world, so take this with a grain of salt. I think releasing it as early access at like the price you released it after you woke up,
yeah,
sweating, I think
yeah,
it would
and
have.
I'd say that probably would have been the best economically and socially fit solution, But like I said, like, it's hard to get this stuff right every time you fuck up, right?
I appreciate that, Matt, and I think it takes some courage
Like
to say that.
I would love to put it that's a early access title on it right now. I'm
Okay.
I and not in the sense that I don't think it's a finished product either, though. That's the
Yeah, I know
other
what you're
weird
saying.
thing, is that I don't think I can just convert something back to early access. I think that's kind of wild in its own, but I do consider this as a finished product
Yeah, I think it's the
with
label
issues
early access
like
just
every game.
relaxes people.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
like,
understand that. Hmm.
should have Cyberpunk put an early access label on it after waiting 10 years for the most anticipated RPG ever?
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
and then they say it's early access, so the bugs are okay. What would have that done? They would have
yeah,
been said like, "Fuck you, why isn't it finished?"
yeah,
It's so different. Like whatever you title it as, the thing, the product is where it is, and we're like,
yeah.
I put
I
whatever
would
time.
argue, Matt, that it is different. This is a BMX game, and as you said,
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's so much more niche. I'm very, very grateful that there's somebody in the world that
yeah,
loves bikes, riding bikes as much as I do. That they would create something like this. It gave me it's given me so much pleasure already as a approaching 40-year-old man. It's amazing. It's like being a kid again. I'd be like riding home with Tony Hawk in my bag, like a jewel case of Tony Hawk, and desperate to put it on for the weekend. I had that with this. I was up at 7 in the morning downloading it, and
yeah,
I love that, and I'm very grateful for that. And the reason I brought up the early access question is because it just, for me, it wouldn't matter. It would just be like the price in the end was like, it's like £35 or £33 like now. If it had the early access label, all that does for me is make me go, great, stuff's still happening,
yeah, yeah.
but
But
stuff still is happening.
yeah, so the is niche. My work is niche. My following was niche and still is in a way, but it's grown. I think my following on Instagram and stuff grew beyond too far beyond the niche market. So when people don't truly understand my work and then they buy it, they're like just horrified or scared of what the hell they're feeling.
Sure.
Like to me, it's just like some people that are like, "How do you manual?" I'm like, "Have you ever played skate? It's the
Sure.
same." And
Sure.
to
Yeah.
me, maybe is it different?
It
I
was
don't know.
very,
Like,
it was very intuitive for me as somebody who's come from that,
like
from
it's
snowboarding games,
supposed to
skating
be
games.
the majority of the controls are replicated skate, right?
Sure.
Because
Sure. Yeah,
they
the flick
intuitively
system.
they they redefined how you should do a jump on a sports game. It just
Well,
feels so good.
yeah,
Like
before that, I
I
believe
just
it was
thought
just
that it was
pressing A,
as
right? To
I
hop.
just thought it was yeah. I just thought the flick system and the manual system at least would have been a a global known fact, the same as how it you pull the trigger to shoot a gun. It's like
Sure, yeah, yeah.
if you're a gun game and you all of a sudden change it to the B button, everyone's gonna be like, "What the hell is this?" And like this is where like so like Skater XL and Session, they all tried the steering with the triggers,
Yeah. I
and
hated
it's
that.
just like, yeah, I don't like that either, but I can see why they wanted to try it because it just makes more sense to and opens up more room on the controller for the actual physics driven stuff they want to do with
Sure.
the dual foot, right? Because you can't
Yeah,
steer
yeah,
with it.
yeah.
It makes sense, but it's so far beyond expect it's not you can't just change that. It's like
Yeah, I get it. It's like having ADS on
a
a shoulder
design
button,
that
not a
the
trigger.
world
Yeah.
just knows. It's like changing the jump button that from an A button to the X button. Like I hate that when games don't use the A button for jump.
Sure. Sure.
Like when you're on foot. Like I
Sure.
think Dark Souls uses like a hold B, not even a tap. It's like hold
Oh,
because if
yeah.
you to do an actual jump because the tap B is the rolling mechanic.
Right.
And I don't remember, it's something like that. And
Yeah.
general platforming is always like the A button, the fucking A button. And
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
press it twice, you should double jump. If there is something happening twice on A, it should be a double jump, not a gainer.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Backflip.
Yeah, yeah. We'll
Fuck's
get
sakes.
into. Let's not get into that.
So annoying. It just blows me away that like some other games can pull that stuff off, and then it's not like the best mechanic doesn't feel the best, and then they don't get bastardized like that.
Sure.
I feel like I had, but
A little thing I want to talk about quickly is as I was looking through the Discord last night, I saw you posted at some point a picture of the map, a screenshot of the map, and it had hundreds and hundreds of emoji, like reactions rather, and like there's probably like 250 fire emojis, or like, people were so into it and loving it, and then it came out and everybody was saying the same thing, which was, it looks really bland, the map.
yeah,
And it's weird how I
yeah,
was in that camp. Honestly, I opened it, I was like, oh, it's a
yeah,
bit
sure.
brown, honestly, but like we'll
Yeah,
get
I
to that.
suck at
But
lighting.
well, you know
Like
what?
this,
It's funny you
I'm a
say that.
programmer. I do myself. I do most of that setup myself. Like I have the other artists on our team, but they weren't doing the lighting. They were doing.
Well, it's funny
Uh,
because I really enjoyed being able to light within the game with the
yeah,
lights and the valve caps and all that
yeah.
stuff.
A huge part of that was having the ability that you like. Yeah, again, going straight into something being like it has to have this time of day changing, but I've never released a game where you had just normal time of day.
Sure, sure.
You know what I mean? So we're just gonna
Yeah,
pick the hardest lighting mechanic in the world, and like it's clear that most games don't do time of day change for a reason.
yeah. I love that, by the way, and I think, as it's funny,
It's
after a
felt
week
so
after
cool.
a week after downloading this game, or a couple of weeks after, I was playing in it and I was frustrated by some things, or maybe a month after, and then I was making that night video, and I was just like, I turned to my girlfriend, I was like, what the fuck? Like, some of the stuff he's come up with is amazing in this game, and how this works is incredible. Look at like how good this looks. And then there'd be a little bug, and I'd be like, fucking, I'd start concentrating on like this little shitty bug, but not realizing like there's so much in this game that is really detailed. And I think one of the biggest issues you have, in my opinion, is that your scope is too big. And look,
Yeah,
the map, the one that you got so much, or rather the game got a lot of
yeah,
shit for the map being quote
yeah, yeah.
unquote empty.
I
And
recognize this.
sure,
This is this is what's important, is that I recognize this.
You recognize everything from talking to you. It seems like you're not a guy who buries your head in the sand. I think it's unfair that we live in a world now where developers, especially single developers or very small development teams, are expected to do their own public facing stuff as well, like, and be like a personality. And I think it's unfair, honestly, and that's what I really want to try to shoulder some of that weight with these videos, try and help you with that the best I can.
Yeah, exactly. This is the best. This is the only way to do it. Is really just talk about it. Instead of me, like, if I post something on Instagram or a little blurb, like, you on Instagram, you only really get like a sentence of attention, but I can't describe like much, so without really, like, I'm bad at grammar as well. I'm like dyslexic and shit. So when I try to type human language, it's a little bit hard, and I don't know
Sure.
if people are reading my grammar correctly, even though
Sure.
there's lots of tools to check that. But
I'm often reading stuff you write, and it's not about the grammar, but it's like I just don't understand like some of the words. I don't understand because
yeah,
they're not. I have no context. It's not that I'm sure the words are right,
yeah,
but I think doing this, like, what we'll aim to do is have time together where we go. I think next week or the week after, just do a video on like why the manuals, what the wheel collider stuff that you showed me last time. I think is really fascinating. You've got a roadmap on Discord that's largely, I don't know if it's relevant at all anymore, and I'm just wanted to run through it. Like, is there stuff in there that's still relevant?
I just I couldn't find it. That's literally just like a PDF. But I really wanted to just have a roadmap tool that I could properly update, and it would just kind of like update.
But I don't understand the format of it. What is the so is it like that? Trick fire and blend in 2.0, and then it's just like a purple bar. What does that mean?
Yeah.
I mean, is it even
Exactly.
relevant
I was
anymore?
just I wanted, like, I think honestly I'd remake my own roadmap tool, because I was trying to find a tool online that would help me, and I didn't.
Well, that's so
Um,
typical of you,
so I
clearly.
think I would make my own in the game engine, and just I thought it'd be really sick to actually have that roadmap in the game, like
Yeah.
on the menu, like on the startup menu, so
It would
that
be it would be awesome. You check in every time, but that's
yeah.
classic. Like, from everything I'm learning about you, I don't think there's any need for that. It's
I know my thoughts got too far, so then I just gave up on updating the roadmap, and then because
sure,
you end up, something comes up and it's like, oh shit, like I gotta figure out how to network this, and it's
yeah,
like all of a sudden now. But honestly, those things that I did mark on the roadmap, those are all things that are getting taken care of in the long run here. I think there's like
sure,
physics-based character motion. I think some emotes or trick bag.
sure,
The whole idea of that roadmap was that was going to be the stuff that comes after Xbox.
sure.
But at the same time, these features kind of just naturally come through with getting the physics right.
Yeah,
Like emotes, like that's just running an animation. It should be super easy.
sure,
And it's actually that much like a skate. When you run the emote, it's physics based. You can do the hand thing when you run the emote and skate, and your hand like actually like hits a wall or something if you're too close,
yeah.
and
That
it's
would
not
be
clipping.
cool. Yeah,
Or you do it, like, so this is, it just comes naturally with the new system, and I've already played with some of those, running some random animations, like a soccer kick could be your like, you could pretend to do a box as your emote, but if you're close to someone's face, you would actually hit them, you know?
sure,
So I don't need to have these other mechanics, and you can run these physics-based emotes. And that's
sure,
kind of what you see through when I ran some clips out there in the internet where she sit on the bench, and then sucks does the force pull with her arms and pulls the bike and skateboard while she's on the bike on the bench. That just that display right there is like my dev flex, being like, look how fucking robust my system is.
sure.
um, and that's the same thing. It's like running an emote, but
But
not
the
only
thing
that,
is,
you can run.
Pete, there's no
The cool
context
thing
for
would
that.
be that you can run the emote while driving another vehicle, whether
Sure,
it be on a skateboard or sitting on a bench.
sure.
So all of a sudden I'm building a universe, and the world building through the idea of immersion, of feeling the world, feeling it, not looking at it.
That's the most important thing for you.
This
Making
is
like,
what game design is. Like, this is how game physics should be, is like the game physics, like coming back to robustness, is like, yeah, I like that Super Mario Smash Bros. uh example I give where you pick
Mm-hmm.
up the gun. If you pick up the gun, you should be able to also throw the gun, whether it's a bat or the flower. You can still throw the flower and injure someone with it because it's a weapon and you pick it up. It's like the bike. So the force pull on the bike is you should be able to force pull at any given time. How cool is that? Like you can walk into a crane, and while you're walking into the crane, running the cutscene animation to go sit, you can literally grab your bike at the same time. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so then the players know that this button will do the force pull.
Sure.
Always. So now
Sure.
you can start climbing and doing it and playing like you can. So now what's going to happen is you're going to be able to do it while you're running and you're going to be able to throw it. But maybe you can target that thing and then you're playing with somebody. Now you can start playing pass with the bike because you can grab someone else's bike if you target it, maybe. Right.
Yeah, I
So,
saw you. I saw you created the goalpost, didn't
so
you, the other day?
yeah, but now if I network this and you can target and you can force pull not only your bike but anything that is force pullable, then you have this world of invention and physics and interaction where you can create your own story. So you will be able to be running next to your friend, throw them your bike, they can catch it and then jump on it.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
fucking crazy would that be? And then this
Yeah.
is this is all coming there. Like we're gonna
Yeah,
make those
I
stories.
can see the application of all that stuff, especially in the multiplayer. I would love a world where you could,
Yeah.
you could put your bike down and somebody trips over the bike, like rides into it, or you could even grab, like a chain and tighten it across, like between two people, hold it tight, and somebody rides into it, stuff like that. There's a
Yeah.
just cause aspect to it that I think could be really fun. Hopefully,
I
I'm
was
not the
just
only
playing.
person thinking that.
I was recently just playing with my new bike physics, and because it's all physics based, I was able to attach a rope to it and have like a machine pull you by a cable, and you can still jump and steer, but pull it like as if you're wakeboarding
Yeah,
or being towed by a snowmobile, right? So it
yeah,
or a dirt bike, like it just works. It's easy. It's
sure,
like an easy setup now because you're doing everything with the correct masses and
sure.
stuff. So I need to correct a lot of that.
We got onto it before quickly, but we just got off it fast. The map is huge, and it's quite like
That's right.
grey. Well, just tell me a little bit about the map and how that came about.
Yeah, recognizing the scope here is like, oh, the map's empty, that it needs to have cars and NPCs and stuff. I'm like, I recognize the scope here. I'm not going to add more to this map. It's so fucking big. I'm not
Sure,
adding any more shit. Trust me, not right now at least.
sure.
Where
I would say that's not paramount
yeah,
anyway.
you want me
Honestly,
to add cars and add more props, I guess. Then you're just adding more performance issues because you're drawing more shit. And it's like, do you want me to spend 6 months adding more mailboxes and stop signs, or what if I make it so that you can actually run into that stop sign with a car and smash it off?
sure.
Oh, how about that instead? Uh,
I honestly think I have a bunch of choice mod maps. Vortex, of course, has created some
yeah,
great ones. I'm happy with that, like loading up a map. Honestly, like
yeah,
I don't need the city to be that big. I mean, it'd be fun in multiplayer, of course, like chasing each other around and stuff. But
yeah.
I think having a bunch of loadable places that are populated and you can have fun in, I think would be cool.
Yeah, so we're gonna start when we can start um shrinking, I guess you could say, like shrinking the scope, but
Sure,
not really affecting. Like we can still have the main world that we built there, but we can start building smaller areas that like as vanilla proper maps that the game would come with default instead of using mod.io.
sure.
Uh, and then like expanding on that with challenges and stuff to just kind of refine our systems, but like, there's no need to just remove the city and start again. Like, it's there. It's
I
done.
think there are
Uh,
loads of good spots that I really like in the city.
yeah,
Honestly, there's loads of good spots. It's just sometimes, and also
yeah,
I had the pin dropper mod now, which just makes it easier to move around if I need to. At first I was a purist. I was like, no, I'm gonna ride to every spot and make it real. But then I was like, oh, fucking bored
yeah.
of that.
Because
You
then
know,
it's just like, yeah, people just want to just pin drop, but then it kind of ruins your idea of game design when it comes to your challenges and stuff. But at the end of the day, that's something I don't really care about. This is not my personal feeling, so I'll do
depends how
what
you play the game.
I'll like I'll do what the community wants to do when it comes to situations like that. Like I'm very much considering just adding a pin dropper right now
Yeah, I
because
don't know. It's
I
yeah,
don't have a big feeling. I don't care right now if a player can get to a challenge before they shouldn't anymore,
yeah. I understand that. I
or an
mean,
area of the map, because it was just I was just following like, oh, it's open map, so we got to make open world game design. And how did they do that in other games? They have fucking little teleport spots that you unlock. So there's
yeah,
just
and that works totally fine. Honestly, like
it
it's
wasn't
just
like I invented this cool new system and I love how people interact with it. It was just do it because this is what we have. So
sure.
what is the other option, you know?
Yeah. Thank God that thing's moving on the screen. By the way, I feel like you've been
Uh,
hypnotizing me for like an
yeah,
hour.
yeah. No, this is my little Beyblade. So it's a networking test here with the new system.
Do you want to tell me
And
about it? Is it worth talking about?
maybe, yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm just swapping to a server-based setup, and the main idea is how do I get a whole bunch of physics bodies interacting with each other networked,
Right.
and especially chaining them like this. This is crazy. So if you can network this, this should be um, able to pretty much network anything else out of that. So just figuring out how to get that interaction smooth between these two players when you connect. So I got the other player here, um, and I can
Okay.
smash him.
This is like a whole separate game.
Yeah, but so it's not a separate game though. It's the same code I would use for BMX Streets.
Now, but I'm saying
Uh,
like this is, but it is.
yeah,
It's like it
this
is a
is
separate
Mashbox.
game.
So
Yeah.
this is what. So Mashbox is all the things I developed that will create BMX Streets. But along
Sure.
the way, you're gonna be able to play this stuff. So this will be, like, because I need to, when you're networked and stuff, I need to figure out how do I, if I make this Beyblade table basically. So if it's a game, we can figure out how to make it a game, right? Online
Sure.
and network it with a score. Well, I need to learn how to network scoring,
Right.
and stuff like that. So or if you fall off the table and I teleport you, I reset you. How do I get that done properly with the new server-based system? Um, and if I'm just using physics bodies, then for the whole thing, then if I can do it here, then I can do it for the bike the same.
Sure.
Uh, I can whip
But is
around.
there a reason why you're not doing it with a bike right now?
So that I don't get into the trap of trying to make it feel like it should feel like a bike, because you don't. There's a lot of other subsystems for all this stuff that does not need to care about a bike at all. In the
Got
end,
you.
there's actually, like, when I'm redoing this, I mean, there wasn't really too much in Streets, but like there'd be nothing that really mentions what a BMX is
Got
in
you.
the code.
Right.
It's just a combination of having wheels and colliders, and
That seems like a way more mature approach to it. And I guess,
yeah,
like you said from the beginning, you started with the bike and you were like, I just want to do a turn down or
yeah.
whatever, or a bar
you
spin.
start you start typing code like your BMX manager, and then like I don't know, whatever.
Sure. Sure. This is a good chance just to talk to the people who are searching this online. What's going on with BMX Streets? When's it coming to console? Do you have like a concise thing that you want to say to them, to those people?
To the haters.
Yeah,
uh,
fuck you. Yeah, no, to
no,
anyone
no,
who's just like, what the fuck is going? Imagine I'm googling like, what's going on with this game? Like,
yeah,
what would
all
you
I can
say to
say is that
that?
I'm sorry I don't have the time to appease, like I don't have the time to be a proper public figure and truly explain what's going on. It's like I don't know, other games that come out, they have this head honcho guy like Todd Howard or whatever for
Sure,
Starfield. It's like, and then if he says something, then he's a liar if it's not there in the game, right? And
sure.
everybody wants to kill him. So it's just like I can't give. I don't want to go there and say these things if I don't know it's actually gonna be like that.
I
It's
get it.
hard because
So, what would
you
you say
see
to them
something
about
like this
behind
this
closed
this
doors?
this thing that's running right now. This might be maybe this is the bike and I'm doing it, and then all of a sudden it's like something just happens and it's so cool, and then you just completely change your way of how you're designing something, and all of a sudden the feature that the public saw before is now gone because you decided to.
Yeah,
So it's hard, like that. I don't like to really. I just like to show like little teases, I guess, for now in the general, and not really make an official like this is what's going on,
yeah, I get
because
that.
if I screw that up, or people if it
You don't
didn't
want to
happen,
promise.
like what happened to that feature?
Sure.
Uh,
But my question is, what would you say to them? Not about why you're not more public, but like to allay concerns, to make people realize, okay, shit's going down. And I know there is you're very welcome to say, well,
if there was just an understanding that we're not trying to hurt anyone, like I'm just trying to make the best game that has to do with BMX I can possibly do. I've given my entire life at this point to being able to give you that product, and on a personal level, like yeah, I've basically risked everything to be able to do that. And then like when it comes to finance and stuff too, it's crazy. Like you risk your life to be able to do these little projects like this, you know, like
sure.
um, we're trying, we're listening, we read all the feedback, we do eventually start to cut off and start to stop reading comments because of some of the negative ones. You start to say like, well, just stop looking at it and just it's fine, we know that they don't like it, we don't need to keep reading it, it's whatever.
Sure.
But anybody that had negative feedback, like it sucks to read, but at the end of the day, it is something we can use as feedback, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the time of reading it, it feels like, well, do you want me to just not work on the game then, or how about that?
Sure.
I can stop. uh, that's it. But I think if you just gotta look at this stuff and kind of try to read it more constructively than it's delivered,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
then I can start moving forward with life. Some guy might give like a whole paragraph about the data system or something, about how the game's fucked, and I'll be like, oh, he just lost his bike save and he's pissed.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Well,
really a mature way of looking at it, honestly. Instead of, it could be easy to be to actually to bring it full circle, to cut and run and go, you know what, I'm done. I've given you a BMX game that's like
yeah,
nothing exists,
but it's out there. We're out there in a public speaking, free speech system, and no matter what age you are, so this is a game. Like this meant for children. At the end of the day, like it's really meant for children.
Sure.
I'm not making it a game that's like supposed to be for 30-year-olds and up because I'm 30. Uh,
Yeah, no.
it's
Don't
meant
remind
for
me.
it's meant to relive my childhood, right? That's
Sure.
why we make games as adults, because it feels like our childhood almost. Like uh, so, but those people also have a phone in their hands and they can say whatever they want.
Sure.
So I guess I would also say the people that are really that passionate, I would just say they're more passionate about the product being good because they're so mad at something not being good. Like they really want it to be better, right?
Sure.
So it's like somebody says trash, it's garbage, is like they had the energy to even say that and type it. So they had the idea that they wanted it to be better in the first place. So I can try my best to make it better.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I'm great. I'm
Everybody
very
has their own
grateful.
vision of how it should have gone down, and I'd give them 6 years of imagination to imagine it instead of feel it. So if I would have just given it to him earlier, we wouldn't have
Yeah.
had to go through this problem. And this is kind of a big lead up to Mashbox about giving you the thing that's happening as soon as possible, so we can figure this out
Can you
together.
tell me a little bit about what? But and by the way, what I was just saying is, I can imagine the first comment on this video is going to be a developer talks about caring about the game while smashing two little bots into each other. Like that's
No, yeah,
I'm kind of joking, but that is, there will be people who say
yeah,
that who just don't get the context because they've not watched the whole fucking thing. So it's
yeah.
never, you're never going to fully allay everyone's concerns.
Because the game has multiplayer, and you should be able to load into a map with a thing and play as that thing, no matter what it is. And it's the same system. You take that system and it works for everything. It's just like how any AAA game can just smash out the same game every year.
Yeah.
They recycle the same system that works, and then they slowly refine that system. And then like even Ubisoft can use the same open world systems for how many different open world games, and it's exactly the same thing with your tower mechanic and your go things on the million things on the map. It's all the same code and base, so they make it work for anything. They just change it. So it's my whole multiplayer system where you should be able to link up with a player and lobby up, you could say, or in a matchmaking system even. That
Hmm.
can be done without the idea of needing a BMX in front of you, and it should be because Well, if you tie it to a BMX, then you've just spaghettified your code. I guess you need to keep it decoupled so that you can actually run these systems. Like the the BMX Streets project alone, like if I make a change and I need to try that change, it takes up to 10 minutes for me to try that small change in code because of the
Mm.
size of the project and it takes so long to compile every time you make a change. So the whole point is that you make all your systems in smaller projects and then migrate them together.
Is that what I'm looking at here?
Yeah, so this is what Mashbox is going to be. It's the prototype system. It's just like a separation because like eventually as a solo dev, you start to just work in your super project, which is BMX Streets at the time. But eventually now you want all these systems to go, so you need to have a more lightweight project with no textures and stuff, and minimal code in a certain and managed code, so that you can figure out what's going on. So you see these even the sparks here, but the whole point is that this is now network. So this character can throw sparks as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the simulation is correct, and I'm not networking the sparks. I'm simulating it properly, so I'm not cost paying for bandwidth to send the signal of where the sparks should go to the other player.
Got you.
This is the same for audio, and so when that moment happens, it's an audio cue. There would be, so it needs to be simulated out with the proper velocities on the other side instead of sent over the network. So you
Got
don't
you.
waste all that money and stuff through your bandwidth, and you can focus your bandwidth onto your actual physics. Um, and this is what makes it nicer.
Okay. Well, I wish I understood everything, but do you want to? I think what we should do is in another video. I'd love to go through what's Mashbox and why it's important. You know, I think that will be a video if you're up for that in the future in the next month or two.
Yeah, the big contenders like for more information at this point is definitely Mashbox and a bit more deeper dive into the physics
Yeah.
of the bike and what a little bit of a post mortem, I guess, on what went wrong with Streets physics
Sure.
wise,
Sure.
and that would definitely describe a little bit more about like what I've been doing with making sure everything is physically in tune for the new updates. There's another really important fact thing that I don't know how to really roll off the tongue properly, but I just want people to somehow know that what I'm doing now, like how we said we almost calling it's leading up to BMX Streets 2.0. I just want people to understand what that even means to them, because from a business standpoint, I should be walking away from Streets right now and just working on BMX Streets 2 and selling that as a separate product. That would be the smartest business choice for me to do, but I don't feel like I should do that mentally.
Okay.
Like I should just say, screw it, we can't do it on an Xbox, and we're just gonna make the next product better and work on that. Same how Call of Duty can sell you every year a new Call of Duty. Like, I shouldn't be giving you this much improvement for free, basically,
Mm-hmm.
um,
So why?
business
So
wise.
why have you
But
decided?
I, when you, I shouldn't say I shouldn't be, but like, when you look at how other companies do things, I
Yeah.
guess that's
Yeah.
all. In comparison to the rest of the development world of other companies and stuff, it what you're getting on this is a version 2, and it's not going to be sold to you as a version 2. It'll be a part of the original thing because
Are you saying that version 2 is what will be eventually on the Xbox and
whatever
PlayStation?
comes out of this, like if you're going to look at the end of lifetime of BMX Streets here, it's going to look much different than the release day, and the end of
Okay.
lifetime might be 5 years later, 6 years later. I don't know,
Okay.
right? But right now, uh, we we don't want to risk another release, so we're not going to work on another title. Obviously, our trust factor is a little bit low. So the smartest decision for me mentally as well, is to just keep making BMX Streets better while we can financially. So and try to do that without microtransactions and selling you anything, um, and just refining from there. And then
And does a console release give you some level of security financially?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, is it contingent
This is
the
the other thing. Like, I'm not
success of
trying
the
to.
company, the
We're
future of
not
the
trying to.
company?
Yeah, we're not trying to dupe anybody out of like waiting longer or have. We're really trying to make it better so that we can depend on our survival of having quality behind us instead of just having it there. Because at the end of the day, if we do bring up the quality, that's going to last longer overall and make everybody happier. We're going to feel better about ourselves, and people who purchase the game are going to feel better about it.
Yeah.
So I don't I want to put it on Xbox with better quality. It's just a natural drive of a human to want to do their best, and I see that I have an opportunity and enough financial time right now to try and do that. So I'm once again putting everything I have back into the Streets project and giving it all back basically at that point. Like, this is a product that you're playing and it costs a lot to get there, but this is what I'm saying. Like, I should be walking away. If I'm thinking about finances, I could put out another product faster, and if we really wanted more money, then we would just work on another product at this point.
If honestly you decided to give up and do something else, I would just beg you that you can say I can save my game, my bike.
The bike saving, man, the bike saving. It doesn't
I'm not
happen
going
to
to let
me.
it go.
I've never. The problem is I've never lost my bike data save myself playing the game
Yeah.
ever, which is like, so it's really hard to pinpoint. And I feel like it has something to do with the Steam Cloud stuff. And it may be like you didn't connect to Steam Cloud, and then it reverts to default, and then it just saves your bike as the default version when you load up, and then it loses it.
I'll
So
tell you now,
I
like, yeah, if you want to get into it, there is something weird that where it will, but it's saved the settings of my bike, which is weird. So like my bars will be a couple of degrees forward, my seat post will be a little bit higher. So it's like, it's really weird. It's the cosmetics of the bike are gone, but the physics of the bike, as in the changes I've made, are still there.
Yeah,
It's really weird.
It's like it couldn't load one of your parts in time, and then it
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
reverts to the fallback
yeah,
part, and then when it reverts, then that's your new bike save because you don't hit the apply button. It just saves
yeah.
your bike whenever you change it. So
Yeah, I don't know.
uh,
Look, I've got really fast at making
yeah,
them, so I'm
yeah.
not
Eventually,
worried.
you just say fuck it, and then you just change the frame. You're just
Yeah,
like, I'll
yeah.
just change the frame.
Well,
Just
it was
keep
the
the cut.
worst for my Night Queen video because it was like an 80s style bike. Apart from, I was going to write you a message and say I beg you to make a 44 tooth chainring. By the way,
No,
like I was,
we've we've
huh?
had we've had a version of the old school bike, but again, it came with challenges because some of the components don't line up. Doing an old school style bike, like the seat,
Yeah,
we had an old school style seat with the rail clamp instead of the
sure,
pivotal
sure.
thing, and it was like, wait, fuck, like now you have to change the seat post to match that. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Like,
and I wanted a laid back, like in a snake post, those old school posts. I
yeah,
was like, fuck,
we
that
had
would be so good.
like a banana seat as well.
Yeah,
Um,
and the
yeah, so
platforms like those old GT frames and stuff would have been so cool. But yeah, anyway, look, that's neither here nor there. I think my point was, I'm really happy I play the game a lot. Anyway, yes, there are issues. We'll get into in a future video. We're going to get into the physics. We're going to get into the wrists. You gave me a good explanation about that last time. I thought that was fascinating. I thought it was really interesting. I can play it fine with those things, but for the future, I'd love to see them fixed. And it seems like that's going to happen. Just seeing the tramp bike, seeing the way that the legs can get stuck on the side of the bike if you don't mount it properly, that shows that the physics are working, that
yeah,
things are interacting the way that they should interact. So
yeah, that is the
I'm
cool
excited
part
for that.
about how the new way it's going, but that also introduces a few more variables in gameplay. Now your legs get
Sure,
stuck on one side of it. Fuck.
sure. Yeah.
I just want to do a tail whip and land a tail whip. What the hell? And then my legs get stuck on the side each time now.
Sure, yeah,
So now
that's
you guys want it not to clip. I'll give you no clipping, but
yeah,
yeah.
that's rough. That's rough. I mean, yeah, I'm sure it poses some big big issues.
And if
Um,
you change the height of your seat, all of a sudden you can't do a no foot can because your seat's in the way.
Yeah, I can get that. And also, like you were saying earlier, BMX is such a hard sport to simulate. And the idea of doing like when people do, there's so many different ways of doing a tabletop, for example, or an invert, buzzing your shoulder, all that stuff. There's just so many different ways of doing it. By the way, in the Discord, I saw there was an animation once of a tabletop that was one-hander, one-footer table. It just was in there, like a one-handed, one-footed table. I was like, when was that in there? Yeah, it was look good.
Old.
It was a bit like Taj
Yeah,
vibes.
I animated, and then it was like, oh, I can't just replace the table with that, and then not have a regular table. So it's like,
No.
fuck. Originally the idea was that you would do a table and then you would be able to like pull the trigger late and then take your foot off the other trigger, but it just didn't really like
Yeah, that's a very
come
cool
together
idea.
well because I wanted the tables were with both bumpers for a table. But
Right.
I wanted you to be able to do one-hander, so you would naturally want to press the bumper
Got you.
to take the hand off, but you're already pressing it. So it's like, well, this doesn't really like jive with my
Sure.
hand leg system. It's
Sure.
not very intuitive, and I just became complicated. So I'll just not worry about it for now. But in the
Yeah.
end, like the going back to the roadmap stuff, like the redesigning all these tricks and redoing my trick system so that it should just be able to work, is that the trick system's been redesigned so that it's a lot easier to just change out the animations for that specific trick slot, or
Got you.
the activation slot, I guess, from the input.
Right.
So if you want to, change out your table for a different table, that would be the idea with the trick bag, is that you'd have different animations. And what's even cool about that is if I get my data systems back, then the new tricks and stuff, it could be something you would unlock.
Okay,
But
that's cool.
I don't think I'd risk that right now because I feel like people would unlock the stuff and they would get fucking locked up on them again. And
Sure. Yeah.
so yeah, slowly we get that.
Yeah, I get that, but like I said, knowing that you're having all those thoughts is really interesting. I'm honestly excited for the future of this game. I'm excited for the future of Mashbox and what you come up with. I think it's really close. This game, I think you've honestly bitten off maybe a little more than you can chew. Honestly, with the challenges, with the size of the map, with the bike parts, with
We
all the
have
people.
the taste is there. What should be done and what the people think could be done, and this is why people get mad, is because it's not all there. But there's only
Yeah.
so much we can do, and it takes a long time. So, but we're getting there. We'll just keep making games.
Yeah, man. Thanks for taking the time out today, and I'm really looking forward to catching up with you again in the next couple of weeks. And I just wanted to say thanks. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, appreciate it too. It feels good to be able to articulate over some of these questions deeper. It's always good to get some of that stuff off your chest as well.